city hummed with the rhythm of daily life, but St. Mary's Community Church stood as a quiet, enduring presence. For years, its choir brought warmth to the coldest nights. Yet now its future was uncertain. Inside the church, Pastor Charles, a kind man in his 50s with silver-streaked hair, sits in his office, staring at a stack of unpaid bills. His hands are clasped in silent prayer. Pastor Charles felt the weight of the church's struggles. Attendance had dwindled, and the once thriving choir was now a shadow of its former self. Yet his faith held firm. The church sanctuary. The pews are sparsely filled. Pastor Charles delivers a sermon on the importance of grace and community. "This church has weathered many storms," Pastor Charles said, his voice steady. "But we are not just a building, we are a family. Together, we can bring hope and light to this neighborhood." The back row of the church. 3 mischievous kids, Sam, Ruby, and Jake, whisper and giggle, barely paying attention. Sam, the leader, smirks as he balances a pencil on his nose. Sam, Ruby, and Jake weren't regulars at St. Mary's. They'd come for the free hot cocoa but stayed out of curiosity. Pastor Charles's words sparked something unexpected in them. The choir room. Mrs. Florence, a no-nonsense woman in her 60s, rehearses with the dwindling choir. Mrs. Florence, clapped her hands in frustration. "We need more voices. A choir isn't just a solo act," she said, her stern gaze softening with hope. After the service, the kids linger outside, snow crunching under their feet. Sam grins mischievously. "We could join the choir," Sam suggested, his tone teasing. Ruby rolled her eyes, but Jake chimed in. "Why not?" "Could be fun." Pastor Charles's office. The kids nervously approach, their mischievous demeanor replaced with a hint of sincerity. Sam cleared his throat. "Pastor, we want to help the choir. You know, make it less boring." Pastor Charles raised an eyebrow but smiled. "You're always welcome here." The choir room. Mrs. Florence raises her hands in exasperation as the kids sing off-key. "Is this a joke?" Mrs. Florence asked, her patience wearing thin. Pastor Charles interjected gently. "Let's give them a chance." The church kitchen, where Mrs. Willis, a kind older woman, offers the kids cookies. Mrs. Willis saw potential in the kids. "Music isn't just about notes, it's about heart," she said, her voice warm. The choir room. The kids surprise everyone with a harmonious rendition of Amazing Grace. For the first time, their voices blended. Mrs. Florence's eyes softened. Perhaps there's hope after all. Rehearsal room. The kids argue over song choices. Ruby storms out, frustrated. Teamwork didn't come naturally to the trio. Sam's overconfidence clashed with Ruby's perfectionism, while Jake tried to mediate. Pastor Charles speaks to the kids after rehearsal. "Grace isn't just a word. It's something we practice with each other," Pastor Charles reminded them. Church members gather to help with choir preparations. Mrs. Willis brought snacks, while others donated sheet music. The spirit of community began to fill the church once more. The kids organize a fundraiser to buy new choir robes, hosting a car wash despite the snow. Soap suds and laughter filled the icy air. The kids' efforts brought smiles to everyone who passed by. After rehearsal, the kids and Mrs. Florence share stories and laughter. The stern choir director revealed a softer side, sharing how music had saved her during hard times. The choir room. The group sings in unison, their voices ringing with newfound confidence. For the first time, the choir felt like a family. Even Mrs. Florence smiled as the notes soared. The night before the Christmas Eve performance, snow falls heavily, threatening to cancel the event. Pastor Charles prayed silently. "Lord, let our efforts not be in vain. The church sanctuary, packed with people." Candles glow as the choir takes their places. The kids glance nervously at each other. Then, with a deep breath, they began to sing. The congregation sways to the music, smiles lighting up their faces. The choir's voices wove a tapestry of grace and hope, filling the church with joy and unity. After the performance, the kids beam as the congregation cheers. What started as a mischievous venture became a journey of growth, forgiveness, and belonging. St. Mary's Choir was no longer just a group, it was a community.